Welcome to this Kanonenjagdpanzer replay on the Sand River map. This tank is now being played by Kovson from F15, and this little new German TD. It's actually a really pretty little machine. I really like the looks of it. It's basically the TD version of the IU-251. It's got pretty much the same gun. The ammo is slightly different, so it has more penetration on the AP rounds, but in all other respects the gun is exactly the same one. It needs slightly more penetration because it hasn't actually got a turret. So it's got something like 218 pen on its regular rounds. Let's double check that. No, actually 212. It's a 90mm gun, and it's got a pretty good rate of fire, to be honest. It's basically the replacement vehicle for the Jagdtiger 88, which will be taken out of the game in the future because obviously Wargaming wants to get rid of all the premium matchmaking vehicles that get a limited matchmaking. The Jagdtiger 88 is a really nice and solid TD, but a little bit obsolete in the current game meta with all the RT and the fact that Wargaming are removing all the good spotting and controlling locations on the map. And by controlling locations, I mean the locations from which you can control an entire flank, basically with one tank without exposing yourself too much. Every map used to have these locations, but they're gradually being taken out because, because apparently it's too hard for most players to actually play with a brain and go around these locations. All of them charge in the open, get killed, and then Wargaming picks this up and tries to fix it instead of having the player base improved. But back to this little TD. I haven't bought it personally myself because, I have the E25 and I have the Jagdtiger 88, so there's no reason for me to buy another premium TD. I mean, in the past I used to collect all the tanks basically that were released, but I just don't have any time to play them anymore because now with clans and everything, I spend most of my time actually in strongholds and clan wars rather than random matches. So if I play randoms, I want to play a couple of tanks I like, and this selection varies, and then not having a gazillion tanks in my garage that I never play. I do have a lot of tanks that I never play, but I don't want to actually spend my actual money on them. Those are just the regular vehicles. So the start of the match is pretty slow, but that's the thing with these kinds of TDs. You need to wait for the moment. If you play overly aggressive, you die early on, and then you have a bad match. And that's one of the problems with me with these vehicles as well. With the E25, I play them way too aggressively, and I usually either die early on or ding too many shots on tanks I can't penetrate frontally and then run out of ammo. But Kovson is doing a really fine job of basically staying hidden. So he's putting some nice fire into the CDC and this light tank. CDC gets taken out, and he just misses that light tank, then aims for the AMX 100. He's got HE loaded, and that obviously only tracks him because, AMX 100 luck. So his team luckily was smart, came back to base, and then this KV-85 comes up. AMX 100 is still there, so Kovson takes aim at the turret, fires, and RNG decides that the shell needs to drop into the ground in front of the tank instead of actually hitting the target. So this shot wafts over the turret of the KV-85 because accuracy. So not off to a flying start for Kovson himself. His team was having some trouble as well, but now it's time to go somewhere else because his team is insisting on the right hand flank on pushing a hull down T-29. And if there's one thing you cannot flush out with an IS and a light tank, it's a hull down T-29. He will just completely wreck you because you have no way of penetrating him. Kovson puts a nice shot into the Super Pershing, doesn't even bother with the second one because the Super Pershing pulls back. The AMX 100 pulled back from our base as well, so Kovson moves up and tries to support the IS and ELC. IS lost a lot of health and pretty soon his life. There we go. And Kovson takes aim at the low HP TD. Now, in these kinds of situations, it's always important to not focus the targets which net you the most damage, but actually the guns you can take out of the plane. Because the less guns the enemy team has, the less chance they have of doing damage to you. And loads of times you see inexperienced players trying to maximize their damage output and then losing a match because they left 6 tanks alive at a one-shot. That in the end, that's 6 guns that can still do damage. So always focus the low HP targets to try and get guns out of the game if possible. This T-29 is now in a really good location for his tank. If he uses it well, Kovson has no chance of actually doing damage to him from here. Also a nice little detail on the back of this TD, these smokescreen launchers. It would be cool if they actually worked. But it is a really pretty model. Really nice little tank. His team is pushing on the other flank and Kovson is just waiting for that T-34 to move into position, because trying to take on the T-29 alone would be... well, he could probably pull it off, but you'd lose a lot of HP, which you don't want to lose. At least not at this stage in the battle, because his team is actually behind. Now the T-29 spots him, so he does the smart thing and pulls back. Waits to get D-spotted, T-34 is moving in. And he decides to go around the left. Now, personally speaking, I would go around the right, because the thing is, if you come from the same location with 2 tanks, it just makes it easier for the enemy to shoot at you. If you have 2 completely different angles, he can't shoot in 2 places at one time. So I always try to get a triangle up where the enemy can't actually engage both of you at the same time. But Kovson puts a really nice shot in, and then he knows he's got the rate of fire over this T-29, so puts another shot in, and T-29 goes for the T-34. I guess he was trying to track him on the hill. I don't know why the T-34 was moving his tank so weirdly, because he's got gun depression, so there was no need to actually try and engage that T-29 frontally. Now Kovson decides that he hasn't got a good shot onto this VK, and as you can see, the camo of the VK is really good because he's not spotted and he's not that far away from that medium. Now he's spotted, so it seems that the camo of this thing is really, it's not as good as the E25, but it's probably really similar. So now he moves up onto this ridge, because there's 2 TDs around base that still aren't spotted. His team managed to pull the scores back 4 versus 4, so that's good. Well, now it's 4 versus 3, as the KV-85 is taken out. There is that little Dicamax in base, trying to use his gun depression, but in a wrong way. I don't know why he wasn't shooting Kovson, because the T-34 is way too armored for him to engage. But hey, Kovson's still on full health, basically using this TD the way you're supposed to use it, as a long-range sniper while staying hidden. The Sture Mill decides that it's smart to run away. Kovson has HE loaded, again nearly no damage tracking hit, but the second shot does a massive amount of damage, nearly 100 damage more than the regular shells, and he probably wrecked some modules in that guy as well. So the killing shot, and then time to move up again. So 6,200 WN8 and 3,800 damage so far, and there's just 1 Super Pershing, so let's see if we can get the kill on that one as well. Nice driver's mirror reflecting the sunlight, and there we go. killing shot on the Super Pershing. So that is the new Kanonenjagdpanzer TD, premium tier 8 German TD in the game. A really nice little machine, especially if you haven't got the Jagdtiger 88 or the E25. Kovson managed to get an Ace Tanker badge, a Confederate and a Tank Sniper badge. Tank Sniper for doing a lot of damage over 300 meters. So yeah, first Ace Tanker on this machine on my channel. I hope you liked the replay. If you did, feel free to rate it and possibly subscribe to the channel. As always, I'll post the after battle results screen after this, and see you next time.